If you're feeling like the person you love is pushing you away right now, that can be one of the most painful things that we experience in a relationship. And so how do we make sense of these moments when their behavior is so confusing? How do we create peace for ourselves and be centered in these moments when it feels like everything is up in the air and you don't know where things are going to land? Well, today I'm going to share with you a concept that comes out of a book called Attached. And this book unpacks a really beautiful idea about attachment styles that people have. And specifically, there are 4 attachment styles. And what's empowering about this concept is that if you're dealing with someone who has a particular attachment style that got sourced from when they were young, sourced in their relationship with their parents, then their behavior right now has way more to do with them, their beliefs around relationships, their association with love, than it does with you. Because so often when someone's pushing us away and it's confusing, we don't know why, the go-to modality is to question ourselves. You're probably questioning yourself. You're probably asking, what are you doing wrong? Where did you say something wrong? If you had only shown up better, if you had only done this better, if you had only communicated better or more clearly or more loving, things wouldn't be the way they are right now. And so let me suggest to you that that's probably not the case. If your man isn't coming to you with clear, open communication, in a grounded place, coming looking for a reconciliation or communicating openly and honestly about maybe why it's not the right fit, even if that's the direction. If he's not having these mature conversation with you, but yet you just feel him pushing you away, the chances are he's dealing with an attachment style that has nothing to do with you. So let's look at what these attachment styles are and see if you can find the behavior of your man aligning with one of these attachment styles. The first attachment style is the insecure attachment style. And this is the person who really wants love. They really want partnership. They really want to be in that connection. And this person is deathly afraid of being rejected. And they're constantly needing reassurance. So this is the guy that's hitting you up all the time. This is the guy that wants to know if you're thinking about him. This is the guy who's asking, when you say that you love him, you say that you care about him, he's the guy who's going to put himself down. He's like, God, I can't believe that a woman like you is with a guy like me. And what is it that you love about me? And he's constantly looking for reassurance. Now, these attachment styles aren't gender related. It's not like men or women. We all have these attachment styles. But if you're with a man who's operating that way, often with an anxious attachment style, the more intimate they can get in the relationship, the more the stakes raise. And the more the fear comes up that if you leave him, he's not secure in this relationship. He's anxious about his own worth, his own ability to be loved. And if he's that anxious, it will often have him pull away, ironically, instead of lean into the relationship if it gets too close because he's afraid of getting hurt. And so this is a person who didn't know what they could count on. And so to respond to that, felt like, well, if I can latch on to something, then at least I will have that sense of security that I'm grasping for, that I'm looking for. And the irony is that he will either suffocate you in the relationship, or at one point he'll get scared and pull back because the stakes are just too high. The second dysfunctional kind of attachment style is the other side of that same coin, and it's called the avoidant attachment style. This is also the person who grew up in a home where their needs weren't being met, or they were told that they weren't good enough. They were told that they would never amount to anything. And their response to that is they find, if I can't count on you, mom and dad, to protect me, to meet my needs, to make sure that I'm okay, then I'm just going to only rely on myself. And so this is the person who doesn't believe they need a relationship to feel fulfilled. This is the person who feels like they are the Lone Ranger. And if you're with them, it's nice, but they're very much about doing their own thing, going their own way. A lot of times, this is the person who's really sexy. This is that sort of James Dean, Lone Ranger guy who's like rebel without a cause. And this is the guy who's really sexy because there's that part of people who say, well, if I can cause this guy to change and want to be in a relationship, then it validates your own worth and your own sense of power. And so you'll often be attracted to the avoidant person. And so this person, the moment things get too close, where now it's time to commit, now it's time to really be intimate, now it's time to really share, this person pulls back. But they were kind of avoidant the whole time. They were Lone Ranger the whole time. And so If that's the behavior that you're looking at and now he's pulled back, well, that's because having a close, intimate relationship just isn't part of their paradigm. It isn't part of their belief system. Their whole life, they learn to go it alone and never really rely on someone, because deep down the subconscious fear is if they do rely on somebody, they're going to get let down. They're going to get rejected. And so both of these mechanisms are really self-preservation styles to preserve themselves from getting hurt, protect themselves from getting hurt. The third attachment style is called disorganized, and this is the one that really throws people for a loop. Disorganized is this combination of anxious and attachment. And so this attachment style, the person will often throw themselves into the relationship and like, you're the most amazing person. They'll shower you with praise. They'll shower you with love. They'll shower you with you are amazing and we're soulmates, and they'll pull way in. And then the moment it gets too close, boom, they'll pull back. And they'll say, and they become avoidant because they don't want to get hurt. In fact, there was a therapy session that I listened to on this podcast that was just brilliant because it described one of these perfectly. And it was a man in his 30, 33, 35, and he had this long on and off relationship with this woman, and he was calling in saying, why can't I commit? What's wrong with me? Was his question. The therapist was brilliant. And this therapist said, she goes, well, let me ask you a question. Tell me about your relationship with your mom and your dad. Because if you want an insight into how we relate, the place it all begins is with our relationship with our mom and our dad, unless we've done a bunch of work to release those old patterns and establish new, healthier patterns, if that's what's needed. So this guy was talking about how the fact that when he was in preteens, like 12 years old, his dad left his mom. And his mom, and he was so angry at his dad at that time, and he thought that a lot of the work he had to do was with his dad and being angry with his dad because his dad, I think, had cheated on a mom, and so he's like, I'm never going to cheat. And he wasn't that guy who didn't cheat, but he also couldn't find himself committing. And then as the therapist began to unpack this, what came out was that when he was 12 years old, his mom was devastated with his dad's departure, and she leaned on the 12-year-old. Him as 12 years old, she leaned on him for reassurance and for security and for just that emotional support. And he wasn't equipped. He was 12 years old. And so he felt this burden. He felt this like huge weight that he couldn't be the one to support his mom. Like his mom would pour her heart out and use him as the therapist. And now he described, before him sharing that moment, he described what it feels like to be in a close, intimate relationship with a woman. Feels suffocating. It feels exhausting. So he became an avoidant attachment style, saying, hey, if I get too close, this is going to be bad. My needs can't be met because I'm going to have to meet the other person's needs. I'm going to only be there for them, and I'm going to get swallowed up in the ocean of this person's needs. And so he became this avoidant, or maybe disorganized. Either one, you get that same pullback tendency. And it was an aha moment for him. He was like, holy moly. Like, that's exactly why I pull back, and I'm ready to heal it, and I'm ready to change. And it was such a beautiful moment because he was going to get some therapy and call this special person back in his life that he'd been in and out and see if they could work on it and rekindle things together. And so here's the main takeaway. There is a fourth attachment style, and that is secure. And that is where the person is secure in themselves and they're secure in a relationship. There's this interdependence that happens. And that person is able to communicate clearly how they're feeling and what they want when they're afraid. They're able to have intimate conversations, be emotionally intimate with you, and that's what you're looking for. You're either going to find that person because they were raised in a household to help them cultivate that way of being, or that person has done a lot of work. But in either case, know this, what the research shows is 70% of people never change their attachment style, because they're just not aware, not that they can't, they're just not aware that they have the opportunity to change, or they don't have the desire to change. So if you're with somebody and you're noticing, wow, they've really got an avoidant attachment style, or wow, they really got an insecure, anxious attachment style, or they're disorganized, they're kind of giving me a bit of both. If you're noticing that, your job is not to change them. Your job is to notice and choose who you want. It says way more about them and where they are in their relationship maturity than it does about you and your behavior. And so why I love that is You can actually set down any guilt or any shame or any burden that you're carrying, like, wow, you caused this person to act that way. No, you did not. They're being that way because that's who they are. So you can release that burden and then make a clear-headed choice. Do you want that kind of relationship in your life, or do you want something even better still? So my question for you is, what attachment style do you notice runs in you? Is it secure? Is it avoidant, anxious, disorganized? Which one do you notice comes up for you? Because here's the deal, whatever it is now, the first step is if you're aware of it, then you can change it. And there are amazing therapists that do this exact work that can help you shift out of repatterning any part that isn't serving you into that secure, beautiful attachment style. So I hope this serves you. Thanks for watching. I'll see you soon.